Look how brightly that cross is lit up, but in a few minutes or an hour at least it won't even be visible because of the sunlight. That's why we should never be discouraged when there's darkness, because we just need to light one little light and it will make a big difference. So here we are in Jerusalem. We're here for our monthly retreat and we're staying for a couple of days extra because of our yearly community planning. So expect a few more little transmissions here from Notre Dame of Jerusalem. It's quiet, it's Shabbat. Amazing always. I'm always astonished at how Shabbat closes down. All the hustle and hectic, at least in many parts of the country, and people rest. There's family time, not just in the religious Jewish communities, but in the secular communities. There's a lot of family time. I noticed that a lot at Magdala, when Jewish families stay there, the devotion of parents to the little children, it's so beautiful how people spend time and take time and make family a priority. Well, you're all familiar with Jerusalem, and we can see across to Jordan here at the cross on top of the Lutheran Tower. That's a good marker to see where the mountains of Moab plateau in Jordan, beyond the Dead Sea, beyond the River Jordan. And here in the foreground behind that bright cross you see a middle ground hill, and that's in the highest point of the Judean desert. And here we have the cemetery of the Mount of Olives and the Dome of the Rock. The readings today give a lot to consider and ponder. Kohelet continues to give advice to the young people. And it would be a mistake, I think, to take this as eat, drink, for tomorrow we die, because this is all within the wisdom literature, and it's within the vision of also accountability. It's asking for a connection with the Creator of all the world and all of our possibilities and all of our resources as we go about our daily chores and do our errands and fulfill our tasks and mission in life. I'm fascinated by the poetry of this text. Even in a translation, it must have been really special in the original language. And I don't have a dominion of that yet to really appreciate it. But it's contemplating the end of life. When the sun is darkened, can you imagine? And the light and the moon and the stars and the clouds return, and the guardians of the house tremble. The guardians of the house tremble. That's something, isn't it? People who are in charge of security in the palace, in the country, and they're trembling. because they don't want to go to war. They don't want the looming danger, the pending danger. I just see now, because of the way the light is, how the mountains of Moab are visible further north, and we can do that. It's not always that simple to do that. But if you can trace the line again from the cross over the Lutheran Tower there, where that flagpole is, and you have that, you see it's already getting less clear than it was a few minutes ago, and you follow the line of the Moab Mountains behind the Mount of Olives. At least for my naked eye, it's where the tree is there, that lone tree in the middle. I don't know if you can still make it out on your screens, but that's at the level of the mountains of Moab, so you can see them all the way to there. And so that's probably about Jericho over there, or maybe behind the Ascension Tower. That's a nice picture. That's worth a screenshot. We should keep our eye out for it to see what happens in the next couple of minutes, as that tower of the Ascension of the Russian Orthodox convent aligns with the sun. I can even help a little bit by walking back here. Let's continue reading here. Listen to these metaphors, or these are descriptions rather than metaphors, but they become a metaphor for life. When the guardians of the house tremble and the strong men are bent. Sorry, I have to keep my eye on this as well. And the grinders are idle, grinding the grain, the wheat, the barley. I knew that type of job at home in two locations, in Boston and in Kinvara. And Brogan's had a grinder where I didn't even remember having wheat ground at Brogan's. I was very small, very first years of the 1960s. And the grinders are idle because they are few. That's also a kind of a contradiction, because if there were few, they should be busier, but there's actually nothing to do. So in that sense, it's become also a very powerful expression. The grinders are idle because they are few. And they who look through the windows grow blind. What a sad story. Look at that here. Looking through the windows, and they grow blind. Come on, windows, where are you? Oh, it's just below here. And all the windows in all the houses, and the people grow blind looking out. You know, there's great melancholy and sadness in all of this text. It's part of life, people. It's part of life. Let's go back and get the sun while it's in the right place there. The thing is, it's rising now, so it's going out of reach of the tower. For those who are just joining, we're in Jerusalem, looking toward the Mount of Olives. That is the tower of the monastery of the Ascension of the Russian Orthodox, and it's the dwelling of Russian Orthodox sisters. Just a nice alignment there today. And the grinders are idle because they are few, and they who look through the windows grow blind. while the doors to the street are shut. One of our confreres last night was commenting. He came in on a flight in the middle of the night, and he got to Jerusalem at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was coming from the bus station here to Notre Dame, and he said he was amazed at 3 o'clock in the morning, Thursday night. Today is, so the night, yesterday, I'm not sure, Thursday. If it was Friday morning, then he was arriving, Thursday night into Friday morning. So even the little children were out on the street at 3 in the morning. He couldn't believe how live the city was. All the doors open, all the places open, people coming and going. Life in the town, in the city. You expect that in the daytime, in the middle of the night as a surprise. But in the middle of the day, the doors to the street are shut, and the sound of the mill is low. When one waits for the chirp of a bird, but all the daughters of song are suppressed, and one fears heights and pearls on the street. You know, people walking along between high buildings expect respect. But is somebody going to throw stuff on them, try to destroy them? All that happens in war. And one fears heights and perils in the street, when the almond tree blooms and the locust grows sluggish, and the caper berry is without effect. You remember the capers we have in Magdala? Well, they're all over the country. They grow even on the western wall here. And the caper berry is a little bit bitter. It goes well with bland things like salmon. And it loses its effect. It's no longer bitter. Doors are no longer open. Windows are shut. And here we have the bells marking the 6:45 moment. 6 bells for 6 and 3 for 45 minutes. Because man goes to his lasting home, and mourners go about the streets. And now these awesome images as well, metaphors for life. But before the silver cord is snapped, and the golden bowl is broken, and the pitcher is shattered at the spring, and the broken pulley falls into the well, and the dust returns to the earth as it once was, and the life breath returns to God who gave it. And in the closing line, that is marked with quite a tone of melancholy and sadness. Vanity of vanities, says Kohelet, all things are vanity. And the psalm then is a wonderful balancing swing of the pendulum in this contemplation. In every age, O Lord, you have been our refuge. Just that line, we could go into the whole psalm, but our time is running out as well. And then we go to the gospel, and people are amazed at Jesus, at his power, the divinity oozing through him. Maybe they don't define it as such yet. And he's talking about his ending, when his curtain will be drawn, but then another curtain is rent and access is given. The Son of Man is to be handed over. But they don't understand, he's saying, and what's even worse, they're afraid to ask. But thanks be to God, here we're viewing the Holy Sepulchre where he rose from the dead. And the great mission we have as Christians, with that hope of resurrection, I'm going to prepare a place for you, like he said at the Last Supper. And there we look over here to Mount Zion, the Dormition Abbey. The Last Supper is right over there near that big tower. And we have our faith, and we can sing Alleluia in the midst of this contemplation, as we also recognize the seriousness of it and the seriousness of life, then the great gift of life. People, God bless you. It's lovely here in Jerusalem this morning with you. Say a prayer for us for our retreat, that we'll have our hearts open to the Lord and be generous with Him in this morning, this day. And God bless you. See you later, alligators.